Hey guys, I'm Andrea. I'm a young adult author who is querying my first ever manuscript, and welcome to my Reread with Me series. So, as you guys know, I started the Graceling series in the first few episodes of the Reread with Me series, and I'm moving on from Graceling to Fire, and as you can see, I'm already 135 pages into this book. So, like I did with Graceling, I'll probably just record like every 100 pages and kind of just talk about my feelings on the different things that are occurring. So, not much has happened in these first 135 pages that I really want to discuss. It's not dragging, but it's kind of like a slower pace in the beginning, I guess you could say. But I did have a few things that I felt like I wanted to address. Number one, in the beginning when we talk about Lek, that really bothered me because it's like, oh, he's been this terrible from the beginning. Like, even when he was a baby, he was this bad. And it took 3 years for his grace to show. And then when his grace did show, he was already just so evil and putting thoughts into people's heads and stuff. Even his own father, he murdered his own father in cold blood because his father was like, I think you put thoughts in my head. He turned out and stabbed him, and I was just like, what? I don't remember anything about this book, in all honesty, so everything I'm reading is new to me. I'm just like, what? I don't know how he fits into the story, but he has to fit in somehow for him to have a whole section in the beginning. But that really got me. I was like, oh my gosh. He is just wow. I really don't even have words. Just wow. I can't believe someone could be so cruel, but apparently he is. So, moving on to our main character, Fire. If you guys have seen the first portion of this Reread With Me series, then you know that this is full of spoilers. So I probably should have said it before I mentioned Lek, but I'm saying it now. This is going to be all spoilers. So if you haven't read the book, go read it, come back, and we'll discuss. Moving forward, there's not really much to say about Fire's character. I really don't I like Archer to an extent, but I don't like his relationship with Fire. I guess they're kind of friends with benefits, but I don't know. It's just he's really jealous and really controlling, and I feel like all that is just unnecessary. It's not needed. That's not how you get a girl to like you. Sorry, not sorry. It just doesn't work that way at all. And it really irritates me and bothers me that he is this way because she's not his child. She's not his wife. She's not even his girlfriend. They're just friends, and they just occasionally sleep together. You have no rights to anything involved with her at all. So, these murders that keep happening in their woods, they're really not something that I honestly care about. However, it's interesting, and I feel as though it has something to do with Lek. I feel like Lek has to do with this stuff because when Fire pokes into these people's minds, she keeps saying their minds are blank, they don't know what they're doing, and that immediately screams Lek to me. Like I said, I don't remember anything about this book, so I have no idea what happens or who's doing what, but I feel like Lek is involved somehow. He has to be because he's mentioned in the beginning, so there has to be some reason why he was mentioned. I don't imagine they just mention him and then not say anything else about him. I feel like somehow he has something to do with all this. And I like Fire's character, but I don't love her character, if I'm being honest. She's alright at this point in time. To be the main character, I don't really love her like I loved Katza in the last one. She's decent, but that's about it. Kanzril, I think that's how you say his name, her father. Where do we even start with that one? I feel like there's always an enemy in these books, and the enemy is always the worst possible enemy. It's never a simple enemy. It's always overly evil and just destructive person. So Kanzril, Fire's father, apparently loved using drugs, loved manipulating the old king, loved sleeping around with women, And when the women wouldn't sleep with him, he just raped them. Because, you know, that's what you do. When a woman won't give you what you want, you just take it. I'm not even going to go into detail about that one. And then, if he got the woman pregnant, he'd kill them. So, it's his fault that all of this stuff is happening, all this bad stuff in the Dells, because he caused the old king to be promiscuous, strung out on drugs, and just overly evil by putting thoughts in his head. And he was always this terrible person, but he loved having this power. He thought it was a gift, and it was great and wonderful, and blah, blah, blah. We don't know why he let Fire live. We don't know why he let Fire's mother live, but apparently, for some odd reason, Fire was allowed to live, and he took her from her mother, just took her, to this remote place where he thought she'd be safe. I have a whole issue with everything that I just stated about him. Like, number one, the raping of women. Like, I don't even think I need to explain why I have an issue with that. That's just, like, no. Number two, the murdering of women he got pregnant. Again, I feel like there's no need to explain, but, like, if you had sex with her, you knew this was a possibility. Why would you? Why? Like, who's that evil? Like, why? I don't understand. Number three, taking her from her mother. Like, just taking her, not bringing her mother with her to, like, actually watch over her, but just taking her when she's an infant away from her mother. Like, that's probably what killed her mom, honestly. And I know some of you are like, why don't you have an issue with the drugs? I do have an issue with the drugs, but not as big of an issue as I have with the rest of the stuff that he does. Like, yes, drugs are bad, don't do drugs. But, like, my issue is more with the bigger things. So, I get this feeling that Fire killed him. And like I said, I don't know. I'm pretty sure she did in some way, shape, or form. But I don't really know because I don't remember. But I get the feeling that she, like, made him go into this monster's cage and, like, basically killed him. Although I'm not entirely sure. And I feel like we need to touch on Nash and Briggan because, yeah. So, first of all, Nash, I don't know if he was just too drunk or what, but I feel like he was just way too aggressive with her, way too forceful, just, like, doing the absolute most. Like, who gropes a woman and throws her against the wall? You don't even know her. You barely know her name. Like, why would you do that? I feel like that was disrespectful, uncalled for, plain old rude, and just, like, not king-like at all. However, Fire makes him apologize. He apologizes. The next day, he's normal again. Briggan is a whole nother situation because he is overly violent and aggressive towards her and actually rips her wound open, and then he's like, oh, I didn't know you were injured. Even if you didn't know she was injured, why would you grip her like that? Like, you left marks on her wrist. Like, come on, dude. What kind of man are you to be so violent to a woman? You don't even know her. I get that her father caused all these problems in the Dells and everything else, but she's not her dad, so why would you treat her like that? You don't even know, you don't know her. Like, that really just bothered me, honestly. Now, aside from those things, I admired how Fire risked her life for those soldiers. I thought that was so nice, and immediately I thought Briggan and Nash were going to think so highly of her because she legit risked her life and life of her horse. She passed out when she came in. Poor Small, his back was all bruised and just terrible. I feel bad for him. But still, they didn't say thank you, and they just left the next day with no communication whatsoever. Okay. I don't feel like King Murda or whoever his name is needs to be mentioned here, but I'll mention him anyway just because I want to throw in this small detail. I feel like they want to kidnap Fire, but it wouldn't do them any good anyway because she'd never help them. But I feel like that's the look that they gave Fire on her way back home. Now, where I am, she's just left with the king's army and Briggan. He comes to, like, pick her up and still is not respectful of her, like, at all. After she risked her life to save him, he still doesn't apologize. He, like, doesn't care. He's still got this feeling about her, like, he doesn't trust her. Whatever. It throws me that he gives her a guard of 20 people when there's, like, 5,000 men in this company. Like, if all of the men were to lose it when they saw her, she would stand no chance with just 20 guards. I mean, like, it just wouldn't work. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. So that is where I am. And some of these men are, like, super weird. Like, the one guy that was like, I like the taste of monster meat. Like, so you want to kill her? Or, like, I couldn't tell if it was, like, supposed to be sexual or if he just wanted to, like, kill her and eat her. Like, was he, like, a cannibal? Like, I didn't get that. And then the guys that are like, they want to marry her, she's so beautiful. Like, ugh. Honestly, really? Whatever. But that's where I am now, and she just let her hair down and playing the fiddle and I guess trying to go to sleep in her tent. So that's where I am right now, and I'm going to treat this like I treated Graceling and update about every 100 pages or so. There's like 480 pages in the book, so I might go a little past the 100 pages mark with each of these and then end with less than 100 pages left just because it's a little bit easier. And I feel like I have a little less to say about this one thus far. Now, that might change, but thus far I feel like this one I have a little less to talk about. So, yeah. That's it. Alright guys, so I finished Fire by Kristen Cashore, the second book in the Graceling series. And I know I said I was going to update you guys every like 100 pages, but honest to God, I gave this book 3 stars because I just remember it being so much better. Like, I was highly, highly disappointed with this book. I wish I could say that it was as phenomenal as I remember, but it wasn't. Okay, so my first issue is the plot. Like, not the plot, the pacing. Sorry, the pacing. Well, the plot too, but the pacing. So this book starts off and it's like slow, 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 slow. Then you get to like maybe like page 300, and then it's like full speed ahead, fast, 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 fast. And then right before the end, it's like slow, 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 end. Like, honestly, it just really wasn't as good as I remember it being. Like, it just wasn't. Like, Fire as a character, I didn't really like her as much as I liked. If you watched my last Reread with me series for Graceling, I really loved Katza. Fire was just, she was okay to me. Like, I didn't love Fire like I should have loved her for her to be the main character. I didn't really care too much about the war. I didn't really care too much about the foggy-minded people, except that I knew they had something to do with Lek, and somehow Lek was involved in this book. I really only cared about Fire's romance with Briggan, and that took until basically the end of the book to even be anything other than them just clearly liking each other and not doing anything about it. Like, come on. So disappointing. Like, I thought about DNFing this book, honestly, and that's sad. Because I was just bored. Like, I was like, I really don't care. Like, okay, so I watched one person's review on this, and they said that they felt like she only put Lek in this book because she needed to discuss his backstory, and she wanted it to relate somehow to Graceling. I kind of have to agree, because Lek served absolutely no purpose in this book at all. None. Like, Lek served no purpose. He was just there. And the beginning, it talks about him, and great, okay. And his backstory is crazy. Obviously, he killed his own father, which that was something I was, like, really upset about. But, like, what purpose does he serve in the remainder of the book? Like, other than he basically wants Fire, because Fire can also control minds, and he feels like they'd be a dynamic duo. So he, like, sends people to, like, get her, I guess. Like, he kidnaps her, and he's controlling the minds of the people at Cutter's, and he killed Archer. Actually had Archer's father kill him. We'll get there. But, yeah. I feel like he was just included in this book to be included, because the showdown with him really was like, It was like her horse kicked him and he fell through a mountain, and that was it. Like, okay, what was the purpose of this? Like, he served no other purpose in this book at all. It's like, he wants to kidnap Fire, he goes and kidnaps her, then she escapes. Oh, my bad. Then he kills her best friend, then she escapes, then a horse kicks him and he falls down a mountain. Like, that's literally the purpose of Lek in this book. That's it. Just dumb. And then the war, which was almost what the majority of the book was based off of, like, I honestly didn't care. Like, I wasn't made to care about this war. I literally could not have cared any less. Like, okay, there's gonna be a war. So, like, so what? Then, okay, the war scene was actually decent, but there was only, like, a few war scenes. Like, it was like, Katza gets kidnapped, Katza gets rescued, like, injured, so she starts helping injured soldiers feel better and hold on to life. Okay. Then they go to the place where the war is happening, right? Well, first Nash massacres Gentians, whatever his name is, his army. Then they go to the Northern Front, and then it's like the war scenes were like built up so much, and then it wasn't discussed like at all. Like it was just like, oh, well they meet to discuss an agreement, and then Nash gets shot in the back, and then war breaks out, and that chapter literally just ends with Katza saying, no, Nash, don't die, and then we're on some completely different, it's like a week later or something, and the kingdom is being restored. Like no description of the war scene at all, just that's what happened. Okay, all right, so let's just do a full out discussion of the events that I really cared about in this book, because there are very few and far between. So I really liked when they came up with this whole scheme for how Fire was gonna get Gentian and Gunner alone, and then like Brigand breaks in and he like kills them. I loved that part. That was like some action. Finally there was some action, and it was like, huh, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, yes, thank you. I love when Fire got kidnapped, even though most of that time she was unconscious. I hated how Archer died. And it made me so mad because I'm going to jump backwards real quick, just so you know. But because, like, he left 2 babies. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, what? He went out there for Fire to hunt down this person, knowing he got 2 girls pregnant and knowing this person could kill him. And when it got himself killed, like, I was saddened by his death because I actually did like his character, even though he could be a dick at times. I did like his character, so the death was kind of sad. But, like, it was also stupid, and, like, it was entirely his fault. And I was literally mad at him for dying. Like, why did you go there with 4 guards knowing what you're putting yourself, like, what could happen? And then you die, and you leave 2 pregnant women that are pregnant with your kid. And let's jump back on them, because I said I was going to. Who the heck sleeps with a 15-year-old? Gets them pregnant, and, like, why? Like, he slept with a 15-year-old, then he slept with the princess, and got both of them pregnant. Now he's going to be the father of 2 babies, of course, but before that happens, he dies. Okay. That irritated me, and it made me mad because, like, nobody was talking about how she was only 15 years old. Like, nobody discussed the fact this girl was 15. Like, that's an entire issue in and of itself. Why are we not talking about this? But whatever, Archer's a whore, we get it. Moving on. So, the little aspect of the Archer, not actual Archer, but the other Archer, Jod, being Archer's father. Wow, that's an odd sentence. That was interesting and, like, crazy and, like, sad because, like, his own father killed him, and, like, he never knew. Like, there was no them talking, like, nothing. It was like he killed him and then Let killed him, and it just, that's how it was. And I feel like that was very disappointing and, like, heartbreaking in some ways and just upsetting. I really didn't, like, Fire's kidnapping was what it was, and she escaped and she, like, burned the house down, and I liked that part. I liked how she escaped because there was some action involved in it, and she was very emotional until she burned this house down and set a fire for Archer. Loved that. And that Brigand has a daughter, and that's great. And Hannah's a lovely addition to the story. She's so adorable. Like, I just think kids are so cute, and Fire and her relationship is just, it's everything. Like, I love it. I love how much Fire loves Hannah, and Hannah loves Fire, and I think their relationship is really beautiful and awesome and wonderful. Fire and Brigand's relationship continues to, like, blossom and flourish, but there's, like, no action between them until, like, almost the very, very end. And, like, Fire gets frostbite and loses 2 fingers, and that is, you know, is what it is. Anywho, what I really want to talk about is how we find out that Rowan and Brocker slept together, and that's why Nash sent someone to rape Brocker's wife, and therefore Archer was born. Oh, and Brigand is Brocker's son. That was a good plot twist. I enjoyed that because it was like, oh, this makes sense now. Even though I feel as though nobody lost in that. Like, Brocker slept with Rowan willingly. Rowan slept with Brocker willingly. So, automatically, like, how could he do that to his wife, which is what Fire was saying. And I feel for her, like, why would you do that to your wife? Why? Why? And it makes me mad that Nash sent someone to rape Brocker's wife because number one, rape, like, no. I don't even want to discuss the subject of rape. It should just automatically be a no. But besides that point, like, his wife suffers twice now because her husband cheated on her, and now as a result of her husband cheating on her, she gets raped. Like, honestly, nobody's suffering in this but her. I mean, she gets a child, but from her rapist. Like, she's not. At least Rowan Brocker did it willingly. Like, if he sent somebody to, like, flirt with her and get her to maybe cheat willingly if she wanted to, that would be different. But no, she gets raped. And I feel like that was just the icing on the crab cake. Like, what? Why? Like, Alice, I think Alice, however you say his wife's name, she suffered so much in this book, and it's like nobody cares. Like, nobody understands how bad she suffered. Fire finds out, she's like, I feel so bad for Alice, but she never, like, in depth thinks about, like, oh my gosh, Alice suffered so much. No. And then finding out Briggan is Brocker's son. Interesting turn of events. Not one I really could say I cared too much about, but I mean, the king was a cheater, and he had twins by somebody else, hence Clara and Garen, so, like, can't really be mad. It's interesting that fire fell for Brocker's actual son. Other than that, it was just like, eh. And the main point I want to make about this darn book, let me mention this first. So, I know Archer dies, but, like, Archer was a dick for telling everybody how Fire killed her father. Wrong on his part in so many ways. I was mad at him about that. I was happy when she started doing little spy work and stuff that she chose to use her power for good. Okay, just thought of this. I was super upset that she took those freaking pills so she could never have kids. That pissed me off. I was like, really? Really? Because, you know, in the first book, Cassie didn't want kids. She didn't want to marry. Now, Fire takes this pill to prevent her from ever having kids. I'm like, dang, does the author have something against women having babies? Like, I mean, I get it to an extent because she's like this monster, but if you raise the child right, then it shouldn't really be a problem. And now you can never, ever have a baby. And, like, that's, like, she's so young. That's such a long time to never be able to be a mother. But I digress. That was her choice. Really pissed me off. Anyway, I'm going to quickly wrap up this whole review of this book. We're going to talk about the romance that is really almost non-existent until the end. And then we'll end it. Briggan and Fire get together at the very, very end. When he comes back from some front, she does run to him and he kisses her and, you know, all that, and it's beautiful. And then finally at the battlefield, like probably less than 100 pages before the end of the book, they finally, you know, get very intimate and they end up sleeping together in the same bed in the same room. And at the very, very end, they're like living in the same house with Hannah, and you know, they're together and it's great and wonderful. And that's like how the romance goes, which upset me because I love the romance in Graceling, even though it took a little bit. But this romance literally started and stopped like within probably less than 100 pages of the book. Like, the whole book was just them talking and discussing and being like, oh, you could tell they like each other, but they don't want to admit it. Then the end was like, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then they kiss, they sleep together, end of the book. Like, oh, I'm sorry. They kiss, they sleep together, they end up living in the same house, they agree that they are together, end of the book. Like, that was the only thing I was really rooting for. And it was so disappointing. Like, it was so disappointing. It was just sad, honestly. That's the only way to classify it. Disappointing and sad. So that is Fire. And I know I forgot some things because I didn't update every 100 pages like I said I was going to. So I'm sure I left out some, like, probably important details. But I just wanted to finish this book. And I was so bored. I was like, I have nothing to talk about. So there's no point in me making a video. So, Fire, I rated it 3 stars. I really have no clue what I rated it when I read it previously. Like, I really don't know. But I'm pretty sure either I might have rated it 3 stars when I read it previously. I don't know, but I definitely like it a lot less now. I just remember loving this series back then. And so far, Graceling was great. Fire was eh. I probably won't read it again. And Bitter Blue is next on my list to read and discuss, but right now I'm on a different book. That'll be in my February wrap up. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to leave a like down below, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel, guys. I will be reading the next book in this series after I finish Like Never and Always. It is called Bitter Blue, and I'll update you guys when I have started reading that book. Alright,